Don't cry. It's forbidden. It's too late.
Throw her inside!
He cried. Just once. Not loud, not long. Just a broken sound trapped in his throat. The village froze. No one ran to him. No one touched him. No one even breathed. The boy's tears hit the red earth. And the ground answered. The air thickened. The night bent. Something moved behind the huts, slow, excited. Cover his eyes, someone whispered. Too late. The crying stopped. But the boy did not. His body stiffened, eyes wide, mouth open. Frozen like he was listening to a voice only he could hear. Then, he was gone. Not dragged. Not killed. Gone. Only his shadow remained on the wall, wet, trembling, slowly sinking into the mud. That was when the elders rang the warning drum. That was when everyone remembered the rule. In this village, crying is not grief. It is a death sentence. No one slept after the boy disappeared. Not because they were afraid, but because sleep makes the eyes weak. The ground where the boy stood was still damp at sunrise. No blood, no footprints. Just a dark outline shaped exactly like his shadow. Women passed it without looking. Men avoided it like a curse. Children were dragged away before they could ask questions. The elders arrived late. Too late for help. Early enough to control the silence. One elder knelt and pressed his palm into the wet earth. He did not flinch, but his fingers trembled. He cried, someone whispered. The elder did not deny it. He only said. The ground heard him. The shadow was covered with ash. Not erased, just hidden. No prayers were said. No name spoken. The boy's mother was locked inside her hut before dawn. She made no sound. But her eyes were red. Everyone watched her. Because crying does not begin with sound. It begins with pressure. With heat. With remembering. By midday, the warning drum was moved from the square. By evening, guards were posted at every path leading into the forest. Not to stop people from entering, but to stop something from coming out. That night, something brushed against doors. Not knocking. Testing. And deep beneath the village, something shifted, satisfied. And waited. The boy's mother was named F. No one said it aloud. They brought her food she could not taste. Water she could not swallow. Her heart smelled of grief trapped too long. Sweat, dust, fear. F sat upright all night, eyes wide, staring at the doorway. She pressed her fingernails into her palms until they bled. Still. The tears gathered. Her sister leaned close and whispered. Do not think of his face. F did. She saw him smiling that morning. Barefoot, laughing, alive. Her throat tightened. Outside. The forest answered. Branches bent without wind. Leaves rustled like whispers trying to form words. F felt something listening. She bit her tongue. Hard. Blood ran down her chin. The pressure eased, but did not leave. Just before dawn, a soft sound came from the roof. Drip. Drip. Water. No. Tears. Falling from the ceiling, though the roof was dry. F covered her mouth. Her eyes burned. From behind her, a voice spoke without sound. You don't have to hold it. Her sister burst in and dragged her outside screaming warnings. Not grief, warnings. They tied cloth around F's eyes. They burned bitter leaves. They sang songs with no melody. Still. The ground beneath her mat remained wet. Something had already tasted her sorrow. And it wanted more. Long ago. Before rules. Before silence became law. The village cried freely. They cried for death. For hunger. For loss. Until something answered. The elders never say what it looked like. Only what it did. They say the first person it took did not scream. He smiled, and stepped forward willingly. After that, crying stopped being human. It became an invitation. The elders gathered beneath the Iroko tree that night. Their shadows stretched too long, bending toward the forest. One asked, "Why did it come for the boy?" Another replied, "Because the well is no longer full." A third whispered, "It has learned patience, but not mercy." They argued in fragments, never full sentences. As if completing the truth would summon it. That was when the drum vibrated. Once. Not struck. The earth beneath the tree cracked slightly. Just enough for warm moisture to rise. The elders stepped back. Something was climbing. Not fully. Just listening. They decided then. No more warnings. No more mercy. Anyone who cried would not be chased. Not saved. Not mourned. They would be offered. Because feeding it slowly was safer than letting it hunt. Her name was Amora. She heard the boy call her name 3 nights after he vanished. Not loudly. Not clearly. Like memory pretending to be sound. Amora. She sat up instantly. Her heart was cold, too cold. The door was open. Outside. The path glistened as if wet, though it had not rained. She followed. Every step felt wrong. Too light. Too quiet. At the edge of the forest. The boy stood. Oh. Smiling. Dry eyes. "Why didn't you help me?" he asked. Amora's chest burned. Her eyes filled. Behind the boy. The trees leaned closer. She realized then. The boy had no shadow. And the ground beneath him was soaked. Something behind the trees breathed in deeply. Excited. Amora turned and ran. The forest laughed without sound. She did not cry. But something inside her cracked. Back in the village. Her mat was wet. Not with tears. With footprints, leading away, then stopping. Something had followed her home. After Amora's night. People started waking up wet. Mats damp. Floors slick. Eyes burning without tears falling. The well was overflowing. Children clutched their faces in their sleep. Old men stared at nothing for hours. The drum was buried deeper. Still, it vibrated at night. The elders realized too late. Silence was no longer enough. The thing beneath the village had learned a new hunger. It no longer waited for crying. It waited for pressure. For grief trapped too long. For sorrow swallowed until it rotted. The boy's shadow reappeared. On different walls. Watching. F stopped eating. Amora stopped sleeping. And from the forest, voices began returning. Not screams. Not cries. Names. Softly spoken. Lovingly called. The village was no longer being haunted. It was being remembered. The boy cried because he was broken. And because Amora broke him. It happened in the open square, where voices carry and shame last. The boy had been accused of stealing roasted corn. He denied it, quietly, carefully, like someone used to being doubted. Amora did not listen. She was angry already. Angry at the heat. Angry at the whispers about her family. Angry at the weight of being the last child of an elder who never cried. She struck him once. Then again. Other than necessary. The boy fell. People watched. And then Amora spoke the words that mattered. "Stand up," she said sharply. "Or are you weak because you have no father to teach you?" The square went silent. The boy froze. Fatherless. The word cut deeper than the blows. Amora continued, her voice sharp with pride she did not understand. "My father buried children and wives and never cried," she said. "And you? You want to cry over corn?" Something in the boy collapsed. Not loudly. Inside. He stood, shaking, staring at the ground. The tear came before he could stop it. One tear. It fell into the dust. And the dust darkened instantly. People stepped back. The boy looked up, terrified, realizing what he had done. That night, when he disappeared, it was not revenge that followed Amora. It was shame wearing his face. The boy followed Amora because pain remembers its source. When he vanished, his body was not taken whole. Only his grief. The thing in the world did not want flesh. It wanted reason. And Amora was the reason. She began hearing footsteps behind her, not heavy, not fast. Just present. Then the voice came. Not angry. Not accusing. Soft. "Why did you say that?" She turned. The boy stood there, clean, unhurt, dry-eyed. But the ground beneath him was wet. "I didn't mean it," Amora whispered. The boy tilted his head. "But you said it," he replied. Behind him, the darkness thickened. This was not revenge. This was the curse working correctly. Because the curse does not punish tears. It punishes unacknowledged pain. Every time Amora swallowed guilt, the boy appeared closer. Every time she refused to feel it, the ground softened beneath her feet. The boy was no longer himself. He was a messenger. A reminder that harm does not disappear when ignored. And the well had learned her name. Long before the roar. Before the drum. Before silence became law. There was a king. And there was an old woman. Her only child had been beaten to death by the king's guards. For standing where he was not allowed. She cried for days. Hungry. Broken. Unwashed. When she came to the palace, the king was eating, laughing, drinking palm wine with elders. Her crying disrupted the music. The king frowned. "This woman is spoiling my happiness," he said. And without judgment. Without mercy. He ordered the guards to throw her into the village well. As she fell, her crying turned to laughter. Not madness. Understanding. Her final words echoed upward. "No one in this land will cry freely again. Your joy will rot in your mouths. Your grief will eat you alive. And anyone who dares to release it will belong to me." She did not die in the well. She settled. And the elders who survived made the rule. Not to protect the people, but to hide their guilt. Amora's father knew this story. He was there. He watched the old woman fall. And that was why he never cried. Not when his wife died. Not when his children disappeared one by one. Because he knew what answered tears. He raised Amora to be strong. But forgot to raise her to be kind. Now the curse had circled back. The well was no longer patient. The boy's voice grew louder. The village began to sweat, leak, breathe wrong. The elder finally spoke. "We must return what was taken," he said. "But the world does not want gifts anymore. It wants truth." The elders believed they could bargain. They were wrong. At midnight, they gathered the village at the old well. Torches burned low, smoke clung to the air, fear pressed against every chest. Amora stood at the edge. The boy stood beside her. Or what looked like the boy. His feet did not touch the ground. The elder, Amora's father, raised his staff and spoke words older than the village itself. Words meant to appease. Words meant to calm. Accept this truth, he said. We acknowledge the pain. Amora cried. Not quietly. Not politely. She cried with shame, guilt, fear, regret. Her tears fell into the well. For a moment. The ground trembled. Hope rose. Then the well laughed. Not with sound. But with movement. The water surged upward. Black, thick, alive. Voices screamed from inside. Not just one, dozens. The boy's face twisted. That is not what I want, the curse whispered through him. The torches went out, one by one. The well overflowed. And something climbed out far enough for everyone to understand. The curse was not satisfied. It was offended. Because truth without punishment meant nothing. And the village had offered the wrong thing. After that night, the rule broke. People cried. And nothing happened. At first. Relief spread like sickness. Mothers wept openly. Men collapsed in grief. Children screamed in fear. No one vanished. The elders celebrated too early. Then, the dreams began. People woke choking on water. Mats soaked. Walls breathing. Those who cried the hardest. Slept the deepest. And never woke. Their bodies remained. But empty. Eyes open. Mouths stretched. Like something had been poured out of them. The village realized too late. The curse had changed. It no longer punished crying. It punished release. Because suffering kept it fed longer. Children began appearing at night. Not one. Many. Standing at the edges of huts, under trees, beside wells. All dry-eyed. All smiling. Each one someone's loss. They spoke gently. They asked questions. Why didn't you protect me? Why did you stay silent? Why did you eat while I starved? People covered their ears. But guilt does not need ears. Amora saw the boy everywhere now. In reflections, in shadows, in water. Sometimes he was older. Sometimes younger. Sometimes he wore her father's face. The curse was learning shapes. And the well was no longer contained. The elder could not sleep. Every night, the old woman stood at the foot of his mat. Wet. Smiling. Patient. You threw me away, she whispered. So I kept everything. He finally gathered the village. And confessed. About the king. The elders. The well. About how the rule was never meant to protect them. Only to delay consequence. The village listened in horror. Then something worse happened. The old woman appeared. For everyone. And she was still hungry. The curse spoke clearly for the first time. No more silence, it said. No more pretending. For every tear swallowed. A truth must be given. For every insult spoken. A pain must be carried. And for every life crushed. A life must kneel. People screamed. But screaming no longer counted. Because now the curse wanted memory, not sound. And the village had too much blood buried. The curse stopped following everyone. It focused on Amora. Because she stood at the intersection of everything. Pride. Lineage. Silence. Cruelty. Survival. The boy stood behind her always. Waiting. The old woman watched. Smiling. The well paused beneath the village like a heart. Amora understood something terrible. The curse did not want destruction. It wanted inheritance. Someone to carry it forward. Someone young, strong, unbroken enough to last. Someone who learned too late. And the curse had chosen her. The curse did not rush Amora. That was the worst part. It gave her time. Time to think. Time to imagine what refusal would look like. The old woman stopped appearing in nightmares. The boy stopped speaking. Instead, they waited. The village suffered quietly now. Crops rotted in the ground without reason. Water tasted bitter one day, sweet the next, then metallic. Children were born silent, breathing, moving, but never crying. People whispered that the curse was choosing carefully. Amora began to feel it. A pull beneath her feet. A warmth in her chest when others suffered. She hated it. But she also noticed something else. When she stood near the well, the whisper softened. When she touched the iroko tree, the ground steadied. Fear bent toward her. One night, the old woman finally spoke. Not with words, but with memory. Amora saw the king laughing. The elders eating. The guards dragging a hungry mother. You are not guilty of this, the feeling said. But you are strong enough to carry it. The offer was simple. Not freedom. Not forgiveness. Containment. Become the boundary. Or watch the curse choose someone worse. The village slept at night unaware that their survival now depended on whether Amora accepted a life that would never belong to her. Amora refused. At first, she left the village before dawn. No farewell. No ritual. She believed distance could weaken it. By sunset, the sky darkened unnaturally. By nightfall, crying returned, not from mouths, but from the earth itself. Cracks opened along paths she had walked since childhood. Voices poured out, accusing, familiar. People collapsed screaming, not tears, but names. The boy appeared everywhere at once. Not walking, multiplying. The old woman rose fully from the well for the first time. Her body was no longer human. Her hunger had shape. You cannot outrun inheritance, she said calmly. Amora fell to her knees miles away. Hands pressed to her ears. Eyes dry, burning. She felt the village tearing. And she understood the truth. The curse did not need her permission. Refusal only removed restraint. By morning, 3 huts had sunk into the ground. 4 elders were found kneeling, mouths open, filled with wet soil. The message was clear. This was no longer punishment. This was spread. Not welcomed. Not stopped. People stepped aside instinctively. As animals do when fire approaches. They welcomed as she approached. The old woman waited. You came back, she said. I didn't come to serve you, Amora replied. The old woman smiled wider. Good, she said. Servants break. Carriers endure. The ritual this time was different. No chants. No elders. Only Amora. The well. And everything buried. She was made to kneel. Not in submission. In alignment. Memories poured into her. Every insult swallowed. Every injustice ignored. Every cry silenced for comfort. She screamed. Nothing came out. And the curse settled. Not inside her chest. But around her heart. Like a cage. The village survived. That is not the same as peace. Crying returned, but carefully. Briefly. With witnesses. People felt watched, even when alone. Amora did not age normally. She did not live. She became a presence. Seen rarely, felt always. The well sealed itself. The iroko tree healed. But shadows remained cautious. Children were warned now, not just don't cry. But why? Names were remembered. Wrongs were spoken aloud. Because silence was no longer protection. Sometimes, on quiet nights, Amora could be seen standing near the well. Eyes open, dry, listening. Making sure hunger stayed contained. Years later, a traveler passed through the village. He laughed loudly, cried freely, mocked the old stories. Nothing happened. He slept comfortably. At dawn, he was gone. Only his reflection remained in the water bowl. The villagers did not panic. They covered the bowl. They looked toward the well and whispered thanks. Because the curse was no longer wild. It had a keeper. But make no mistake. If she ever grows tired, if memory fades, if cruelty rises again, the old woman will not cry next time. And neither will the village. If this story unsettled you, good. That means you were listening. But before you leave, ask yourself something. How many times have you swallowed pain? Bitten back tears? Laughed through injustice? Just to keep peace? Because curses don't begin with magic. They begin with silence. If you felt a tightening in your chest while listening. If your eyes burned but stayed dry. The story isn't finished. It's waiting. Leave a mark, so it knows you passed through safely. Leave a comment, your name, a word, anything. Do not vanish quietly. And if you want to hear more stories like this, stories that remember what we try to forget, follow the path back here. Subscribe. Because some villages survive only when their stories are told. And if you return, listen carefully. Not every tear falls from the eyes.